In today's episode of the Oversubscribe Challenge podcast, we are talking about content, but not content as posting, but content as a sales system. Because right now, most people are doing exactly one of these two things. They either post consistently and don't make money, or they sell aggressively and burn their audience out. And you know what? Both comes from the same mistake. That is, they don't understand what content is supposed to do. So quickly, what does it mean to use content as a sales system? Let me simplify this first by telling you what a sales system is meant to do. A sales system has three jobs. Number one, attract the right people. Number two, prepare them to trust you. And number three, move them into the next step. But most content only does job number one, that is, gets attention. But it doesn't prepare people and it doesn't move people to the next step. So you end up with followers instead of buyers. And what happens if your content doesn't prepare people? Well, you finally post your offer and then it will feel like a sudden jump. It will feel random. To your followers, it's going to feel like, hey guys, please buy my thing. But you know what? That is not a system, right? That is interruption. And because they followed you just because you got their attention, you then suddenly becomes boring when you present your offer. So if you want to avoid this, then you want to create content that always pre-sells. So let's talk about pre-selling. Pre-selling content is content that sells the idea before it sells the offer. Meaning, by the time you pitch your offer to your audience, they already agree with you. In fact, they are expecting, they are the one asking you, please, how can you help me with your offer? Why? They already believe. They know that they have a real problem because you prepare them. You show them this problem that they have. They know that this problem matters, all right? And the solution is urgent. They really need the solution now because of what you've done before you even introduce your offer. And of course, they know that you understand their problem. In the first place, you are even the one that made them see the problem that they have that they didn't see before. And because you are the one that showed them the problem, they know that your solution will make sense for them. And that, my friend, is what your content is supposed to do. Not just your social media content. There are several other forms of content. Your webinar is a pre-sale content. You don't just invite people to webinar and just start selling your product. No, you prepare them until by the end of the webinar, you present the offer that solves the problem you've already prepared them for during the webinar. So webinar is a pre-sale content. Now sometimes when you run your campaign, your sales copy in the first place is a pre-sale content depending on how you write it, right? You can run your ad to a pre-sale content. It can be an article about somebody's case study, how this person solved this problem that they had, which your audience actually wants to solve. That's a pre-sale content. You are selling but not active convincing people. You are actually sharing a case study about how somebody's life got transformed, but you begin with the problem, how the person got the problem, and then how the person got introduced to the vehicle that solved the problem. And of course, this vehicle is the offer, right? So they pre-sell content before you now present the offer to them. This is what you must ensure that your content does. So your sales page, your webinar, your social media content, every one of these should prepare people before you present your offer. And since we are talking about preparing people, your pre-sale content's job is to install belief. Your pre-sale content has a job to install 4 beliefs in your audience. And the number one belief is that your audience must believe that this problem they want to solve is actually real. If they don't believe that they have a problem, why should they buy your offer in the first place? So this is where the journey starts. They must believe by all means that they have a problem they must solve. They must feel that pain. You must get them agitated that they understand right now that they have a problem and this problem has to be solved. If they don't feel the pain, they're not going to pay you for the offer. So they must believe that they have a problem, and this is the job of your pre-sale content. The second belief your pre-sale content must install in the mind of your audience is that this problem that they have is very expensive. Not money expensive, but time expensive. It's energy expensive, and it is confidence expensive. If your audience realize that this problem will drain me of my energy, this problem will get people to pity me, to get me embarrassed in the front of people, right? My confidence will be low. This problem will waste my time. It will waste my effort. Then they really want to solve the problem. Now, it is one thing for people to realize that they have a problem. It's one thing for them to realize that this problem is actually very expensive, it's costly, I have to solve it. But if they don't realize that there is a way out, there is a solution, they're going to feel helpless. They're going to feel hopeless. And if they feel hopeless, they probably will not buy your offer. So the number 3 belief that must be installed in your pre-sale content is that the solution to this problem is very possible. They must believe it. They must believe that this solution is possible. In fact, people have had the same problem that has cost them this, but they eventually had their lives turned around because of this solution. They must believe that this solution is possible. So your content must create hope. It must install hope. They must realize, hey, there is a way out. Now here they are in this problem. This is where they want to get to. There is an obstacle blocking them from getting from point A to point B. They must believe that there is a vehicle All right, there is a vehicle that can take them across that obstacle and make them jump to point B. And now that they believe that there is such a vehicle, there is such a solution, they must believe that you are credible. All right, not just because you say I am credible, anybody can sing their own praises, but your content must not just tell the audience that you are credible, it must actually show that you are credible. All right, case studies, videos, testimonials, all right, picture, images, testimonials, written reviews, everything, the SEO, all right, your name, the offer itself. When they search for it, they must be seeing people giving reviews and testimonials. Third party witness has a higher power than your own witness about yourself. Your content must show that you are credible. All right, so aside the reviews and case studies and videos and all of that, your content must show clarity. All right, your content must be clear. Your content must diagnose people's problem. Your content must show proof with those case studies. You must show the outcomes that people have already gotten when they used your offer inside your content. This is how your content begin to prepare people, and then they begin to realize, I think this person has the solution. All right, it does not just have a solution, people are already testifying about the solution. If it change this person's life, this person's life, this person's life, I think it would also change my life. Now that I've talked about pre-selling content, now people think, okay, should my content teach or should my content just promote? All right, like, so teaching content versus promotional content. And now this is where people get stuck. They think content has only two modes, to teach or to sell, so they separate them like they are enemies. But a real sales system needs both. So your content should be doing both simultaneously, such that even while you are teaching, of course, in your teaching, you are already selling your offer without selling your offer. But the problem is most people, they teach without direction. They just enter the teaching mode and they begin to teach like teachers. And if you teach the way normal teachers teach, you will not be able to sell, because your teaching will not prepare people to be ready to buy your offer. And selling without preparation will lead to frustration and delay, and nobody will buy. So when you're teaching, your teaching content is not about teaching everything that your offer is meant to do. No, that is the job of your offer. Your teaching content answers this question, and the question is, why is this happening and what should I do? And see what I just did there. I just prepared people for the offer. So while your teaching content does that, your promotional content answers, here is the next step, and this is how I help you. If you don't do this, you are not going to sell, because most teaching content, they are just informational, they are not transformational. So if you do what I just talked about, talking about what's happening and what should I do, you are going to transform people's lives. But if all you do is just to give tips, you're not going to change beliefs. All right, you're not going to confront assumptions, the wrong assumptions that people have about you, about themselves, their problem and your offer. You're not going to be able to confront it with tips and traditional teaching. And with traditional teaching, you're not going to show consequences. You're not going to show how expensive the problem is if left unsolved. You're not going to show that with just the traditional way of teaching. So you must follow this method that I have shown you. All right, your teaching must install these false beliefs. All right, if it doesn't do that, people are going to watch your videos, your webinar, they will read your sales page, but they will not take any action. So this is what you want to do. You want to teach. Like I said, teaching is for installing beliefs, preparing people with your preset content. All right. So when you've done that with your teaching content, then you want to promote direct promotion. But the balance is that this your teaching should take like 80%, all right, of the overall content. Then the promotion, which is the next step, should be 20%, because now they are ready. With the 80%, they are ready. They are feeling like, I think I'm ready. Please, what is the offer? Please, I need this solution right now. Then you use the remaining 20% to get them to take the next step. And this will always work, because with the teaching, you've already left a gap. All right, you're not giving up everything. You've left a gap. You've made them feel that there is a need, there is a vacuum that they must feel right now. You leave a gap that points to the system, that points to the offer. Now you made them look forward to the offer. You made them anticipate the offer. You must always create a gap. It is when there is a gap that people realize that they have to fill this vacuum. If there is no gap, if they don't feel a need, then you shouldn't even sell in the first place, because people wouldn't pay for mere information. They're going to pay for implementation. They're paying for speed. They're paying for structure. If these are the things that is lacking in their lives, then they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for accountability, for confidence. If these are the things that is lacking in their life, if it's that is lacking in getting them from point A to point B, then they're going to pay for it. But if they don't see any need for this transformation, they're not going to pay. Now, to the meat of this episode, let me give you something that most people probably never learn. And it is the fact that if you want your content to act as a sales system, then your content must rotate through 5 rows. Not random topics, but rows. And the role number 1 is problem awareness. So if you are creating content, part of your content strategy is problem awareness content. All right, so this is content that makes people say, I think this is exactly me. Because the reality is that your audience are in different awareness level. All right, you have the most aware, those ones who have used your product and they already like you, they trust you. In fact, you don't need to stress yourself when selling next time to them. Then you have the product aware audience. They already know about your product, but maybe they're still trying to decide. And you have the solution aware audience. They know there's a solution to their problem, but they may not yet have encountered your product before. And there is a problem aware audience. This audience understand that they have a problem, but maybe they're still not sure if there is a solution to the problem. And then there is at the bottom, all right, and this is the major part, all right, the largest size of audience are the unaware audience. These are the people who have symptoms, signs of someone that has a problem, but they really do not understand that they have a problem. They've really not been able to have a hang on what these symptoms means. They know that they have issues in their business, they have issues in their life, in their relationship, they have issues in whatever area that you are trying to sell to them, whatever industry, but they've not yet been able to define it. All right, so this problem aware content helps them define it and then helps them find their place, and then they realize, I think this is exactly what I am going through. So it's like they have that epiphany that I think this is what I'm going through, and then they get attracted to your content. But that is not enough. So going to the rule number 2, content role is the diagnosis. So with this diagnosis, just like the problem aware content, this one also help them explain the cause for why they are going through the problem, through the symptoms that they are experiencing in their business, relationships, in their health, in whatever industry you're trying to sell to them. And this is exactly where authority is built, because now you're not just telling them that this is a problem, you're making them see the reason why they are going through this problem. Maybe a website audit software where people put in their website URL and then it crawls through their website and show them how their website is very slow, how the speed is affecting their conversions and all of those things. So they are saying the diagnosis, they are saying the cause of why they're having low number of sales, low number of conversions, because your website is slow. It's because the architecture of the website is not that good. So they're already saying it. So the next step is, please, how can I solve this? All right, so you're not just telling them your website has a problem. In fact, they're already seeing it. So those kind of content, even social media content or webinar, you make them realize the cause of the problem. It does far more job in agitating them, in getting them realize, I think I need to solve this problem right away. And it also confers on you authority, because now you are showing them the reason behind their problem. And the rule number 3 in the content role is proof. You want to share content that shows outcome, that shows how somebody has gone through the same problem, maybe the same cause of the same problem, but I've seen the results. All right, the person's problem has been solved. So you are showing people's testimonials, people's case studies. You are showing screen recordings. If it's make money offers, you are showing the numbers. You are showing how much this person made when the person followed this process. You are showing its return on investment. If it is health stuff, you are showing before and after. So maybe you're selling drugs, you're selling nutrient supplements. All right, so the effect of taking this supplement, this is how the person was before and this is how the person is now after taking the supplements. So these testimonials, this proof that your solution work, is one of the contents you want to create. So you should be creating content about problem, because that content is what gets the unaware audience to move up in the level of awareness and get attracted to your audience. This is how you get new audiences. The unaware audiences get them to realize that they have a problem. Now they begin to watch your content to learn more about their problem. So while you create problem aware content, you can agitate that by creating content that diagnoses people's problem. All right, if you experience this and this and this is the cause, and then they realize, oh, I'm experiencing this, so this is the cause of this problem. Now they've seen you as an authority in that feed. Another type of content is what I just mentioned now, the proof content. So you begin to mention how this person's life was changed, how this person's life was changed, where the person was before, where the person wants to go to, the obstacle, and how your product, your offer changed the person's life. This testimonial enough is already getting them to realize, okay, if this person's life got changed and person was in the same situation I am in now, maybe this guy, this business, this brand has a solution to my problem. And that's awesome. And the rule number 4 content roles, content in your content strategy, is the method of making content. So these are the content that introduces your own unique approach. All right, while there are general advices about how to do this, how to do that, people will be drawn to the brand or the business that has a unique approach, a unique framework, as if this framework is a first-time framework. That framework, that unique approach separates you from other brands that are just giving out general advices. So that unique framework also confers on you authority of some sort that make people see, I think this person has some authority. This person is telling me something that's original that I've not found anywhere before. So they want to come to your content. They want to keep watching your content. So this is content where you share your process, your mechanism, your unique method, how you do it, how you have done it for this person. Remember, the previous content role is the proof content. All right, you've shown how somebody's life got changed. You've shown before and after. You've shown case studies, testimonials. Now they might want to see, okay, how was this done? What was the process? What was unique in your own method that got this person this level of great results? Because just showing people testimonial alone, it is good, but it might not be enough, especially for someone who has suffered too much. Right? For example, somebody who has the highest money he has seen in his bank account is 10,000 naira. Now you're talking about a testimonial about how someone who was less than 10,000 naira began to earn more than $1 million naira. That distance is too much. Number one, you shouldn't give that kind of testimonial. The testimonial you should present testimonial of somebody earning maybe 200k or 500k. That one is more believable to somebody who has suffered so long in poverty. All right, it's not easily believable. But even if you give that kind of testimonial, you want to show the process. You want to back up your testimonial with how your unique mechanism was logical enough to get this person that kind of results. Because it is when you do that that people realize, okay, I think there's something about this person's unique approach that could generate a result far more than what I could think about. And when you're able to do that, they will trust you. Then to the next content rule, that is direction. All right, direction, your call to action. You want to move them somewhere. Now that they've seen their problem, they've seen the cause, they've seen proof that this thing works for others, they've seen the unique method why this thing will also work for them. The next thing you want to create a content, all right, that just, as said, all right, take the next step, because you've prepared them with the previous content. Now this type of content is for them to take the next step, just direct offer and direct to sale. So this content moves them somewhere. All right, an example of this content, we have a lead generation offer. And you know what, your content doesn't have to move everybody from point problem aware up to the direction. People are in different stages of the awareness level at different particular period. So someone can meet you at a stage where the person just need the offer. All right, so your direction content can just give them the offer that they already wanted. Maybe somebody else had led them from unaware to a stage where they are problem aware or solution aware. All they just need right now is a product that can save them, that can help them. So your product aware content can be the solution for them, and they might not need to start researching you from the beginning. So for this type of content, you want to give them your lead generation offer, you want to invite them to your email list, you want to invite them to your waiting list, you want to ask them to DM you, to call you. So these are the actions they take for them to take part in your offer, for them to get access to your offer. Application, book a call, buy your products, whatever action they need to take to get to the next step. So that is the fifth content rule. And if your content is missing any of these 5 rules, you probably get attention, but the reality is that you won't get conversion. So you must ensure, as you are creating your content strategy for the month, maybe a month calendar content strategy, or 2 months or 3 months content strategy or content calendar, you want to ensure that you have content in these 5 rows or 5 pillars. All right, a content that make people aware of the problem, that diagnose the problem, that show proof, case studies, testimonial content of those contents, a content that show your unique mechanism, maybe the webinar, even your social media content showing your unique mechanism, and a content that just give the offer. The lead generation content, or a content that can like people to join a waitlist, download an ebook, whatever, or a content that just sell your paid products. You want to have these 5 contents. With these, as different people in different level of awareness get to interact with your content, they begin to see this different side, and you begin to meet each of those people in their different level of awareness. Your content becomes relevant to everyone in their different awareness level in their journey. And you really need to do this because Google, in their research, they realize that people need to watch your content around 11 times, 3 or 4 different channels, and maybe from 7 to 11 hours of watch time before they recognize that, oh, this is the person, before they become aware that they are actually watching you. All right, because you're seeing thousands of content, hundreds of content on social media almost every day, and you don't have a recall of a particular brand that you've watched their content. You might need to watch the content of that particular brand around 11 times before that brand got stick to your mind and you realize, I think I've seen this brand before. So don't be so taken aback when somebody just realizes he's watching your content for the first time, but the reality is that the person might have watched your content more than 2 times before then, but he or she hasn't just gotten conscious or enough to have something in your content that stick to him and get him aware of your brand. So you might need to create as many content as possible, maybe 11 contents like Google says, before somebody realizes and recognizes he or she wants to follow your brand. And they talk about 7 to 11 hours of long form content. So like I said again, from Google research and from someone called Daniel Priestley, you want to have 7 to 11 hours of long form content. All right, this is what gets people to know everything about your brand, about how they can get your services, your products, to know everything about your values, everything about your brand, for them to associate your brand, for them to say, I think I love this brand. So the part that everybody will be asking is that, how are you going to create 11 hours of content? Now, you don't have to create it weekly, but you can decide, I want to create these 11 hours of content in shorts form, or I just want to create them over a period of a month. But you must realize that 11 hours of content does not necessarily mean 11 hours of work. It means 11 hours of output. That means you have to do a whole lot of work in the back end, all right, in the input, in the preparation before you have these 11 hours of content produced. But you are going to do better if you stop trying to create from scratch every day. Especially if you're creating your content every day, you want to ensure that you get to a point where you don't have to be creating content from scratch every single day. So you are going to do better if you plan your content calendar, if you plan your content strategy, so that you can still have 11 hours of long form videos, but you don't have to create their shorts every day. So this is how you are going to do it if you want to be an oversubscribed brand. Number one, create a content pillar, one pillar per week. All right, a pillar is a long form asset. So you want to decide, do you want to create a podcast, do you want to create a YouTube video, you want to create a webinar, training, a live session, whatever. One pillar per week. That is what you want to decide. So let's say you want to create a podcast episode like this. Maybe it's a YouTube podcast. Before now, podcast is usually audio, all right, Spotify, Apple Music, those are the podcasts, but now you have YouTube podcast and this video. So let's say you want to create a YouTube podcast just like as I'm doing. So you want to decide you are creating one every week. Now that you've created one for that particular week, then you can now slice that long form video into 10 to 20 micro pieces. All right, so you have your Instagram reels, you have your YouTube shorts, your TikTok reels that you can now post every single day because you've created a long form content. From that long form content, you have your tweets that you can also tweet to on Twitter, on X. You have your emails you can write even from that same long form content. And remember, the long form video is just for 1 week. All right, the following week you're creating another long form video. The following week you're creating another long form video. You want to ensure that you have at least 11 hours of long form video on your channel, whether it is YouTube, Spotify, whatever. You want to have 7 to 11 hours of long form content. But for everyday posting, you want to slice each of these long form content into reels, into shorts, right? But even as you are creating this long form content, step number 3, you want to rotate through the 5 rows. So the long form content, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, you want to ensure that you have content that is problem awareness, you have content that diagnose, you have content that show proof, you have content that show your unique method, and you have content that give direction. Of course, you can mix it. You don't have to follow each step by step like that. Remember, you don't have to stick to just 11 hours. Keep creating your long form content, even if you have 100 hours, 1,000 hours, or at least 11 hours. So, but you want to rotate through these content rows. And if you do this, your micro content will not feel random. It would appeal to everyone in their different stages of awareness. Remember, I said for each long form content, you can rotate through the different rows, right? Another way you can do it that for one long form content, you want to ensure that you cover the 5 rows in one long form content. For every long form content, you are covering the 5 content rows. All right, not that content 1 this week is just focusing on one content row. Content 2 the following week is focusing on one content row. Content 3, that's what I said previously. But I think this other one sounds good and better. All right, for content 1, week 1, you want to ensure that you cover the 5 content rows. Content 2, week 2, you cover the 5 content rows. Content 3, week 3, you cover the 5 content rows. This will help you so that when you are slicing the reels, the long form content into reels and shorts, you'll be able to cover the 5 content rows during the week. All right, that would make it better. So maybe the one for your clip 1, you have the problem awareness clip, and then the clip 2, you have the diagnosis clip. For the clip 3, proof clip, clip 4, mechanism clip, clip 5, call to action clip. So that will work better than what I just said before. All right, and you can do that across multiple platforms. You don't have to choose just one. But if you're starting out for the first time, you might just stick to one platform, dominate that one platform, then move to other platform. Unless you have some staff, you have hands, people that can actually help you in different platforms simultaneously, then go ahead, go for it. Post those contents on different platforms at the same time. Now that we've talked about creating your 11 hours of content and slicing your content into reels and shorts, let me emphasize more on that slicing of content. Of course, what I just explained is what is called repurposing. All right, you've created a long form content. Now you're now repurposing it into different reels, different short form content. But you want to do it in such a way that you don't dilute the effectiveness of those short form contents. Because it's not that you're just copying and pasting. That's not repurposing. Repurposing is translating the core idea of that segment of the long form content. You are translating it into a short form content. So it's the same message, just that it is different formats. So in the long form content, you talk about one core idea, but different angles, different ways of approaching it. Just as this content, I'm talking about content. I've talked about different things while talking about content. I've talked about pre-selling. I've talked about the core 5 rows. I've talked about cutting it, 11 hours of, you see, even though everything I'm saying is still one core idea, that's content as a sales system. But I've talked about different angles that I can just cut and then post each day. as a short. So that is what I'm saying. That is what repurposing it. You don't dilute your content by cutting out clips with no context. No, you don't do that. You don't remove the point you are trying to say. So each clip should have a context, should have one core idea. So you don't dilute the effectiveness of the message you are trying to pass across in the short. Just because it's a short, is a reel, doesn't mean that it shouldn't pass across a very core message and idea, so that the people will find the reel useful and we look forward to another reel, another short form content that you want to post. People should be able to look forward to another short form content you want to post because they find this reel, this short form content useful, and they only do that if it is passing out a message. So for each clip, you want to ensure that it has one core idea, and for each idea you want to ensure that there's a takeaway, and for the takeaway there's the next step. So that is how you repurpose the content. You don't just cut clip anyhow. No, make sure it is context specific, it has one idea, one takeaway, and there is a call to action for each of these clips. So now that you've come up with your content strategy, you've created the plan for your weekly pillar content or long form content, and of course you've understood that you need to repurpose them into the short form content, the reels, Instagram reels, or YouTube shorts, whatever. The most important thing you want to now do in executing this your content strategy, the most important attribute you must have is called consistency. You see, consistency is not a motivational concept. So when you are being told to be consistent, it's not about, I have to be consistent, I want to motivate myself to be consistent. No, it's something that is very important, and it is a marketing advantage. People would only come up to see if they can watch your videos if they expect that you will most likely post another video the next day. If they expect that you post a video today, then they'll come to your page and see if there is a new video, if there is a new content on that page. Why? Because the human brain trusts patterns. You see, if people see you once, you are still a stranger. But they see you repeatedly, all right, until their brains clock that, I think I've seen this guy, and they see you again the next day, and they see you again the next day. Now you become familiar. Now that you become familiar, they want to keep seeing you consistently. Not that they see you for the next 2 days and then you disappear. They will no longer look forward to watching your content, even if you come back again from your break to create another content. So you want to ensure that you are consistent in your content creation. This is how you become familiar with your audience, or this is how your audience will become familiar with your brand. And that familiarity, that knowing, that liking and trusting you would reduce the risk, and it would create more trust with your brand. This is what you want if you actually want your content to prepare the ground for your brand to sell your offer. The goal is not about going viral. Instead, the goal is to become the obvious option. You only become the obvious option if people know that you exist, and if you are consistent in showing up every single day. Yeah, it is good to go viral. The virality will give you attention, but if people consistently see that you show up, they may not even like your post, they may not even comment on your post. That is not the metric you are looking for. That is great, all right? It's good to see that people are liking and commenting on your post, but that is not necessarily the metric you are looking for. What you are looking for is for you to be positioned in the mind of your audience as the obvious option, as the obvious person that they should go for, and this would happen with consistency. Whereas a virality is good to give with attention. If you have it, rejoice, but you have to convert that virality into consistency. People would follow you and trust you and buy from you if they know you are consistent. And this is not just a business strategy, business advice. It is, all truths are parallel. It's the same thing spiritually too. Like I always share spiritual stuff in each of my episodes. God wants everyone to have discipline, and discipline is spiritual. I don't want to sound preachy, but it is the truth. Discipline is spiritual, not because discipline would earn you God's love, no, but because discipline is stewardship. Like, I talk about stewardship almost in every episode of this podcast. You see, stewardship is how you respect what you've been given, and you only be a good steward if you have discipline. Because as a steward, you've been given a gift, you've been given talent, you've been given resources. But a gift without discipline becomes wasted potential. You have so much inside you that you can give the world, but you have no discipline to fine-tune your gifts, to become the best at deploying your gifts. Because there's no discipline, you cannot maintain a routine, you cannot maintain a schedule, and you cannot maintain a structure. You see, a calling without structure would eventually become frustration. So you want to imbibe discipline in your world as a businessman and also as a person of faith. Discipline would help you. So you want to set structure, you want to set the process. This is how I do, this is what I do at this time. You want to stick to a structure, you want to stick to doing things the right way, you want to stick to a system that turns input to great output. And this is also relevant in content creation, because when you build content system like this, that is when you'll be able to publish content consistently. And you not just be consistent, you are also being faithful with the visibility and with the responsibility that God has given you. If you are able to build your content systems, build discipline, structure, around your business and around every other aspect of your life. Now, I want to end this episode with something practical, and that is having a weekly content edit, because the reality is that content systems would only improve through review, not through vibes, but by asking these 6 questions every week. And question number 1 is that, did my content attract the right people the previous week? The question number 2 is that, did the previous week's content, did it prepare people to trust me? Did it prepare my audience to trust me? And the question number 3 is that, did it show proof of life changed, life transformed? Then the next question is that, did it teach my mechanism? The next question is that, did it include direction for people to be able to go to the next step? And of course, did it move the people into my lead generation offer or into my email list? And remember, just like I've said in the previous episode, I think the lead generation or the email and trust system episode, I talked about always ensure that your followers are turned into your leads. All right. So you have to be able to deploy your content to move people into joining your list, into getting your lead generation offers, and into taking the next step, buying your product and all of that. If you cannot answer yes to all these questions, then the answer is not posting more. The answer instead is to fix the system. Remember, we talked about discipline. Create the content system, fix the content system you already have, and you get better results. Now, let me leave you with this. You see, content is not your brand's personality. Instead, content is your brand sales team, and you want to take your content seriously. I didn't take content seriously until maybe middle of last year, or August, September of last year. That is when I actually take content seriously. Not because I've not been creating content. I've been creating content. I even have a video editor, but I was more focused on delivering my services, fulfilling services to clients and all of that, than taking my content seriously. But I've seen the importance of ensuring that you create content that sells for you, and you have to do it. You have to take the time, take the effort to create content, because content is your brand sales team. And by that, I mean it should create demand. It should build trust. Your content should reduce objections. It should guide decisions. If you do this, when your content becomes a system, selling will stop feeling heavy. Now, if you want help building content that actually converts, not just content that looks good, inside the Digital Launchpad Accelerator, we are going to help you build your positioning. We'll build your lead generation offer. We're going to help you build your funnels. We'll build your email system. You write the content, the email copy for all the sequences. We're going to write that. And of course, we are also going to build your overall content engine. Your social media content, your website content, we are going to build that for you, so that your content stops being random and instead your content starts producing demand for your offer. So to access this package, go to pmi.ng/digital-launchpad, or just click the link in the description below this video and access our Digital Launchpad Accelerator program right away. In fact, do that now. So click the link, book a call. We'll see you inside the call session. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share it with your contacts, and look out for next week's episode of the Oversubscribe Challenge podcast. See you next week.